Welcome back to WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker, and this is another show that is full of insight, statistics, trends, emotional concepts. I threw that in, right? So you're going to find this to be an unusual show for us, even for us. And we always try to do something kind of exciting, kind of new. But most of the people that watch our show are small business owners, and they're looking for the next move. They don't know exactly what to do. They've got a nice company. They're doing some things. They're probably making some profits. But what comes next, most of them do not know. Now, here's the answer. The answer is a topic that I've talked about again and again on this show, and that is innovation. I'm going to hold up this line right here. Hold up this beautiful image right here. You'll see some statistics I'm going to explain in a second. But, you know, one of my favorite lines, just kind of a slogan, is innovate to be great. Everybody kind of remembers it. It's a good slogan, and it needs to be brought up again and again. And by the way, I'm going to keep this up here for a second and tell you this. 91% of all young workers who are not in Nebraska, all right, but they're considering going somewhere to set up their family and their careers and so on. And what they're looking for, 91% of them, this is the very first thing, is they want to be associated with a company that is innovative and has innovative environment or innovative vibes, creates innovative products. This is what they associate with having a good time, basically, in their career, and not grousing about it or feeling like they're distant or disconnected or whatever. So that's a very, very important statistic. Now, here's the problem. We're talking about innovation now. 91% want it. And these are the people, of course, that we're struggling to get to come into our state and stay here. 91%, but guess what? 46% of companies here in Nebraska are innovative. 46%. We're near the very bottom of the lineup here in all the states in America. I think we're number second to the bottom, maybe third to the bottom, I guess 46, right? So we'd be probably number 4 towards the very bottom. So what is that all about? And is our organizations, are the people that you're working with, are they eager to innovate, right? They're not doing it specifically so they can attract somebody from Iowa or Kansas or South Dakota. They're not really thinking about it consciously in that way, but they know how important it is. They intuitively sense that we've got to kick it up around here. But what does that really mean? How do we start? What does it look like? What does success look like if you're an innovative company? This is a really good question. You know, if you go down that path, you're going to have some promotional material. You're going to want to come up with some ideas. You're going to do some things that are a little bit different than what you did before. One example, right? Just one example are when people or groups of people pull together and create a mixer, kind of a business mixing type of environment. You've seen those. They've been around for many years. Some people do it differently than others. Some have a lot of food. Others don't have much at all, just maybe some coffee. And some have a theme, you know, that people are kind of supposed to talk about or drives conversational flow, but not necessarily. Somebody just says, well, sign in over here and go have a good time and go say hi to people and so on. The thing about it is that people, two things happen. Half the time, people are introverted. They don't know how to approach people. They don't know how to get to a topic that both people can kind of circle around and chat and hang out with and kind of get started in a dialogue or a relationship. That's not the easiest thing for a lot of people to do. On the other hand, though, there's an upside. When you meet somebody and it kind of good vibes and you get along with each other, and then he says, hey, you got to meet my friend over here. This is this guy. Oh, yeah. And blah, blah, blah. And he's heard about you. In fact, I got a guy over here. You got to meet him. So you pull him in, you know. Now, when that's happening, and especially after the event is over and one of them gives you a call or an email or something like that and says, hey, that was really great talking to you. Let's get together and chat over coffee tomorrow. Great, sounds good. Now, when all this is happening, it gives you, and I'm going to hold this up in front of the camera, I'm going to talk to you about it in two different ways, all right? So I'm going to throw this up. This is a promotional flyer, and it exists to kind of publicize a local, mixing environment, as I mentioned earlier. This happens to be the Empowerment Breakfast Network, but there are several around town. Centersphere is an example of that, and BNI is another example. They all do things a little bit differently, but certainly they see the relationships that they're creating, pulling people together. Now, does that turn into money? I don't know. Is that the important part? I don't know. But certainly people come to all these operations and they enjoy these mixers, at least some of them do. Some of them say, that's not my style. I'm not really into all that, so they don't join. But what they do enjoy, especially if business starts to come out of just a relaxed, informal chat with this guy and that guy and so on, is this word at the top of this flyer. You can see it right there. It says leverage. If somebody told me, they said, well, what's the number one reason why I would want to go there? I'm kind of busy, I don't have to, go this way and go that way and so on. Well, it creates, leverage, right? Oh yeah, I get that. In other words, 2 + 2 can equal 5. Or you can meet the president of a company that I would have never known, but I ran into this guy. He knows the president. They golf together. He introduces me to the president. We have a nice chat about one thing or another. And I walk out feeling really good, maybe even an order or something. That is leverage. That is leverage. And it's reasonable to pursue leverage. Now, another thing is that people will say, well, make sure these flyers look good because they make an impression. People say, well, I gotta see, what this flyer looks like, because obviously I'm not going to go over there if these guys can't even design a nice flyer. I'm going to hold up both of these flyers together right now. You'll see the one that has kind of the orange tinge across the top, across the banner. Most people will tell me that they prefer that one. It's got a little bit more design put into it. You'll see how the boxes are arranged slightly differently. But the word leverage is at the very top, and frankly, if you use either of these flyers, that's what you'll start talking about with people. You'll probably end with this piece right here. And of course, there's a couple key lines. As you can see, it says, are you looking for new customers? Yeah, I'd like to have new customers. Are you tired of missing opportunities? Yeah, nobody wants to miss opportunities. That happens all the time. Do you feel isolated and out of touch? Now, this is a really big trend. I have to tell you, people are not talking to each other. They're using phones. They're at home. They're just doing their work or relationship building, utilizing a phone. This is a very serious consideration. And of course, if you're a boss, an owner, and that means they're probably remote learners, right? So they're doing their work at their home or home office. And that's okay if the quality of the work is good. But even then, the people feel apprehensive, like the boss is probably judging me. I'm probably not going to get a bonus. Like all those people that are in the office, I'm going to prefer to be here, right? And so they're not getting leverage. If you go into the office, you normally are home, but you go into the office, you enjoy it, you chat, you compliment the boss on something, whatever it is, right? Then you're walking away and you're going, well, I might have gotten a little leverage there. I showed up. I don't normally come in here, but I did come in here and it was kind of good vibes. And so I probably am going to get a little leverage, extra power. I call it extra juice in some respects. So now you know what two flyers that say pretty much the same thing, how design looks for those people. I'm going to wrap up the first segment of our show this morning. I'm going to show you a flyer, and it's kind of tacky, I have to admit. This is from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. I've marked it all up. But I'm going to share a statistic with you right now that's very pertinent, very, how do I say it? I don't want to say potent. That wouldn't be quite right, but it has strategic value, and it's worrisome. The Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, this is going back now a few years, Nebraska Chamber of Commerce hired some researchers, and they went out across the state, and they took immaculate attention, to all the different aspects of living in the state of Nebraska. And what they came up with was 40 barriers to growth here in the state of Nebraska. 40 of them. And the ones that you see here that have dark lines around them, that would be what my firm, Nebraska, is capable of doing. And that's only 9, right? Only 9 circles there, only 9 things that have been underscored. There's 40 problems. Out of the 40 problems, I and my firm could solve 9 of them. That is the reality. That's the honest truth. And it's not a bad thing at all, but of course it's still a little worrisome with all the various problems that the state of Nebraska has, particularly in terms of population and attracting people, particularly western Omaha all the way out to Ogallala and further. So it's not an easy story, and a lot of people are concerned about it. Some people just hide and say, we don't want to talk about that now. There are many businesses that have pulled me aside and said, I can't get people to work for me. They don't seem to be around. They don't apply for the jobs. Plus, I've got some turnover. People seem to be leaving a little bit. I'm kind of on the downside. So this is a mega trend in Nebraska, and I believe that I have the solution, but we'll talk about that some other time. Right now, though, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be coming up here after our first segment, and I'm going to bring out the people that support this show and do a great job sponsoring WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Thank you so much for watching this first segment. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Thank you. Bye-bye. This show is brought to you by a company called Trust TV. Trust TV is a great company and a great name, and they're right on the edge of what we really all need, and that is validation and identity. Validation and identity, clarity about who we are, and by the way, who we are capable of attracting, right? I'm going to hold up a little flyer here that has a headline, and you can see it pretty easily, and you'll see the logo right there at the upper left area, Trust TV. Now, Trust TV relies on a media professional to interview business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are just starting up and they need some kind of exposure, some kind of awareness. This is a common thing. And very importantly, by the way, attorneys who really rely on prestige and stature, but also real estate people. They need somebody to help them talk about who they are, the kinds of homes that they show, the insights that they've gained, how their process goes as they're getting things pulled together and as they show various tours and so on and so forth, and what their background is. So the people, just regular people who want to buy or sell their home, they're going, I like that guy right there. He's being honest and he seems pretty intelligent. Why don't we call on him and see if he can't show us a couple of homes in that neighborhood that we like so much. So there you go, Trust TV. You got to check them out. And of course, the key word is trust, credibility, validation, no fear, no apprehension, actually enjoying, wanting to be with the person that's on Trust TV with the media interviewer. Thank you so much, Trust TV. We appreciate your help. Bye-bye. Welcome back to WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. We've had a great show so far. So many different things that we're talking about. I have to share with you, it inspires me. It's informal. It's not a fancily written. The art direction is not so great, but this is a great idea that we need to grab onto, and it enables us to get through everything. It says we must see ourselves as a force in the world. We need to feel and express heroic impulses. Heroic impulses, nothing less. Well, this is a very exciting idea, and it applies and kind of frankly inspires me as I go through this program, prepare for the show, and try to think of things that are relevant and pressing for my audience as well. Now, I'm going to utilize an interesting situation here in downtown Omaha. It's a wonderful hotel on 14th Street. So it's a little bit away from the core of downtown, but it's an emerging, rapidly increasing, engaging area right now. It's on North 14th Street. It's called Cambria. Some people call it Cambria, but it's quite a hotel. It's a very contemporary, colorful, very hip, well-designed interior and exterior. And by the way, quite a bit of parking for this particular hotel. That's worth a lot, as we all know. Pretty tough to get a parking place downtown these days. But nevertheless, they're in an area where not a lot of people, it's not a real populated area. It's like all these beautiful buildings just kind of waiting for this flow of people coming a little bit north there in that 14th Street corridor. At any rate, I had the privilege of meeting with them as they were going through a transition. One general manager was leaving. I had not met any of them before. And then there's another new general manager just kind of taking over. And this lady was in the typical position you can imagine. She had all her profit and, all her staff. She understood who that all was. But what she was going to do, if anything, other than operations, of course, that's what general managers focus on first, is operations and administration. And then they sit back and they look down at the door over there and they go, I wonder if anybody's like coming in today, because the lobby is gorgeous, beautiful, spacious, open, but not a lot of people coming into the building, which if I were in that industry, it would frighten me, because you've got to be able to generate profits sooner or later, and it may be years before this particular hotel and some of those other businesses generate profit, because it's just not a concentrated, populated area. But again, I think I mentioned this to you, and I've got this here. I'm going to read this. We're going to create or suggest. All right, I don't want anybody to misunderstand. We've not been contracted to do this for this company, although I did contact the corporate group and try to check out and find out who they are and what they do, what their values are, and what they're interested in, and so on. And so they look like a really cool company. They really did. And but the key idea is, how do you generate profit in this situation? It's not their fault that people aren't coming in. They've got a beautiful hotel, and they even have brought in a relationship, this is unusual, with a Hickory barbecue operation that operates over in the bar area, and it's usually a takeout kind of thing, but nevertheless, it's a little bit unusual. But they have this big, beautiful, open, spacious lobby, and the idea, I think, one idea, let's put it that way, is to get people to come into the lobby and be there to have conversations with each other, but most importantly, to have a conversation with people. Here in this city, there are several business magazines and Midland's Business Journal, et cetera, and they have wonderful interviews and people, and their photographs and all they've accomplished and so on. And those people are prominent. If we have the time to read the paper, well, there they are, and that's interesting, and this looks pretty interesting over here, and we try to skim it, but those people don't get the attention they deserve a month later, or even 6 months later, right? So what if we track those people down right here in Omaha? They're all local citizens, many of them business people, and say, we'd like to bring you over to the Cambria Hotel and hear your thoughts about what you talked about in the previous article that was published maybe 2-3 months ago. And we'd like to really hear you kind of talk about that. And if you agree to come into the lobby at Cambria Hotel and chat with some people, we'll work hard to bring a population into the hotel. Could be 6, 8, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people. I don't know. I don't know what it'll be. But I do know this: when people are sitting and listening to somebody they kind of respect, it's interactive, they get the opportunity to ask a question, so on and so forth. They build relationships, to be sure, not all of them, but somewhat. And what's happening is they're sitting there looking around, maybe with their soda and so on, and they're going, this is really a cool place. Maybe we should bring my brother-in-law here when they come back into Omaha. Or I've got a boss coming from town. Maybe I should get him over here. This looks like a place that'd be really good, etc. Or an event, nearly a lot of businesses do have at least one, maybe 2 or 3 events all year. And of course, if you belong to that company, you might think about that. That might be a passing thought. In other words, you're paying attention to the gentleman or woman who's visiting. You got these people all sitting around. They're all enjoying the conversation. But different thoughts will come into your mind about maybe I should be coming to this hotel. Now, you do this again and again, week in and week out. You have various people that we've found out of magazines and newspapers and so on. And they've agreed to come and talk with whomever comes there. It's very flattering. It's very flattering to them to have people organized and all sitting there listening to what they have to say, right? And the other people, they're fine. They're a little bored from watching TV all day, whatever they're doing. And so it could be a good indirect way for Cambria to generate revenue. And of course, in the end, that's got to happen. It'll probably be rather slow initially, but week in and week out, as we pull people in there, I think the indirect purchasing of services or guest rooms or barbecue, for that matter, it'll pick up over time, and the hotel will gain a reputation that's very positive. This is where the most interesting people in Omaha, Nebraska hang out, right there in this incredible lobby at the Cambria Hotel in North 14th Street. This is the big idea, all right? I don't know if it'll work or not, but I have a feeling that it could work if enough attention and media, by the way, is poured into this project. Now, people in the hospitality industry don't actually do things like this, hardly at all. They really do think that they're naive. They really do think that if they just have a beautiful hotel and a nice parking lot and everybody's happy and has a smile on their face, that somehow they're going to make money and everybody's going to be great and the boss is going to get a bonus and he or she will be generous afterwards, etc. The whole scene. And these days, I'm not so confident that is how things are going to unfold. By the way, there are a lot of other hotels downtown. I can't believe how many of them have gone up in the last couple of years, and they have the same problem that I'm alluding to, just not enough people or not enough activity, not enough revenue flowing into these hotels, even though they're beautiful and people are going to love them over time. So that's the big idea. That's the project. That's an example of what a consultant who's not deeply involved, standing on the side, looking at the situation, has an attitude, shares it with the boss, blah, blah, blah. And, then we find out what is the problem. And by the way, as we wrap up here, I just want to talk a little bit about salesmanship here, because so often whoever's in a sales role, now I wouldn't consider myself a salesperson really, but that's the responsibility I had in this case. But at any rate, the question is, what is the problem, and is it perceived as a really big problem, or it's not a big deal, we'd like to do better than that, but over time, we'll be fine, you see. So it's very important to understand who is actually responsible at the top or near at the top for generating revenue. Keeping the staff and doing all the administrative things. Those are all good things. Operations, that's all good stuff. But in the end, somebody's got to step up and say, we have got to go get these people and get them in this place, even if they leave and don't have any interest at all in purchasing a guest room or organizing an event somewhere and spending money on a big fancy event. And there will be plenty of people that will fit that profile. They will come, it was nice, maybe have a drink or something, but nevertheless, very nice, thanks for having me, goodbye. And they will walk out that door. So I want to make sure that these people at Cambria understand, have realistic, expectations. But on the other hand, hustle, ambition, imagination, doing it again, changing it, innovating, doing it slightly different. Decide whether or not we need discounts for the barbecue stuff. Do we need to hand them out at the beginning or at the end? All these tactical considerations. Who's going to be responsible for going and getting the soda and bringing it over here for these people right here? Got to have that all organized, see? And somebody's going to get paid for that, and then we're still not going to know for sure if whether there's going to be a home run or not. This is business. This is difficult. This is challenging. This is marketing, and this is innovation. You're going to hear about all these kinds of ideas when you tune into WowBiz Nebraska. We've been doing this for over 8 years. We have a lot of ideas to share with you up on YouTube. Don't hesitate to go up there and find us. Any one of these shows has got depth and meaning and the potential impact on your business and on your personal life as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on WowBiz Nebraska. Thanks again. Bye-bye.